So friends, here is the moment. Are we ready to go? No buzz? So how do I know you guys are all excited? Some virtual encouragement.
Yes, sir.
Zoom reaction, claps. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
please
very
go
much.
ahead.
So good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all of you who have logged in from the different time zones, different geographies. We have got attendees from the subcontinent, of course, from USA, and a touch of Spain, Italy, Netherlands, UK, Finland, and Indonesia. Thank you for making it big today. And I'm excited to launch this webinar, today's program. On behalf of InterraIT, I welcome you all for today's webinar, Create Value Through Quality. Special welcome to our keynote speaker for today, GAUTAM Mahajan. Thank you, sir, for happening with us today. We are also privileged to have with us the moderator for today's show, our founder and CEO, Ashok Laha. I would also like to acknowledge presence of Ranjan Guha from our leadership team from the US. Thank you, InterraIT colleagues and all esteemed external guests. I am Pinaki, and I'll be the Zoom host and shall also be coordinating the portions of the Q&A section that will follow the keynote address. I trust you have all read the meeting guidelines which were being flashed from time to time and were on display. Let me just repeat a couple of them. The first one, of course, is to stay muted. Please double check that your phones are on silent mode and avoid any kind of audio or visual distractions by once again checking your background so that there is no source of such distraction at your respective ends. So at this stage, I would request Pranita to stop sharing the slides so that we are on video mode. Today's webinar is being held under the aegis or the branding of what we call the InterraIT Techno-Leadership series, #ITLS, created to discuss next-gen technology and leadership trends. Quality of product, quality of service, quality of relationships, the quality time that we so long for to spend with our families. Quality friends is truly multi-layered, yet quality is all-encompassing. Today we are pleased to bring to you Create Value Through Quality, inaugural initiative of ITLS 2021. To moderate the show, I now welcome a man who is known for his keen eye for detail, a man of taste for anything that is fine and robust, a man who values quality, our guiding light, visionary, founder, president, and CEO of InterraIT, Ashok Laha. Ashok, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Pinaki. Thank you very much. Thanks. Pinaki, everything what we have said, can you give me a writing? I can show it to my wife, or mail it to my wife. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And, thank you very much. Thanks very much for all the people who are here, who are from India. Good morning, good evening. The people, the folks who are in California, good morning. And the people in Europe, good afternoon. Thank you very much. You know, when we started this company almost like 24 years ago, the only thing, almost all our customers still today are the US customers. So to get a business in US, you have to maintain the quality. And the other question comes in, quality is guaranteed. Quality is right now, today, quality is given. You know, like for example, like speaking English, similarly, quality is given today. Then the customer is asking question today is that what value you can add? Value, what value you can add? What differentiates you from the other companies to that? So I was thinking of this topic for a long time. You know, I see that I've seen lots of articles written on this one, and one of the gentlemen who wrote lots of articles on this one, I read it. He's a good friend of mine, GAUTAM MAHAJAN. I'll introduce him a little later. And GAUTAM wrote, so that interests me. So when I was talking to GAUTAM about this topic, GAUTAM said, I said, GAUTAM, do you want to start this seminar, this session by your talk, value through quality? And GAUTAM agreed on it, right? Now, what is a value through quality? A company typically creates value for customers by producing goods or services that are better than their competitors. Best companies value their customers. The best companies keep the service promises, leverage present surprises, and the best companies build a trustworthy service brand by embracing quality service. And the quality and the value to quality is not only top management. That's a myth. It has to go to across the board, down the line, everybody has to believe in it. You know, I'll talk about the two cases. You know, one thing I read a long time ago when I started the company, and what is my personal life. I'll tell two stories. One is about the Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic is one of the greatest hospital, respected hospital in US. Story goes that a truck driver, he brought his truck in front of the hospital, and he parked the car in front of the hospital in a no parking zone, and he walked straight to it because he is feeling breathlessness. He cannot breathe. So emergency room, he went there. They looked at it and they told me you have to do some surgery immediately to take care of it. He said, I cannot do that because my truck is outside, there's no parking zone, and I got a sick dog in the car. So I have to take care of them first. And the nurse said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. So nurse immediately, as the guy went to the inside, nurse went immediately went to the place, found somebody who can drive a truck, park the car in a safe place, took care of the dog. When they asked the question, when they interviewed the girl, what's your, this is not your part of your service, job requirement, job definition. He said, no, Mayo, we take care of the patients first. That's the story we talk about. Every employee should think that way. You know, it's not a job description, we have to take care of that. So one of my other stories is that my personal life. So 7-8 years ago, I was in Bombay. I went to got a conference. I have to catch a plane next day, early morning, going to Singapore. And I checked in Oberoi Hotel night before. I got a meeting the whole day. Then I was going to then in the night, roundabout, I was feeling sick. I was throwing up. I felt sick. So, but anyhow, I had to catch a plane in the early morning. So I woke up, I took my luggage down and I went to the counter. And as I checked out, there are two girls there in the Oberoi Hotel, Oberoi, Bombay. And they said that the girl said that you don't feel good, you don't look good. I said, no, I was sick. Then he said, can you postpone your trip by 1 day? I said, yeah. He said, then don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. So he put me in the hotel, another room, and he said, I'll take care of the tickets. I call a doctor. He call everything else, and I went to the room. So result happened actually on the night. I felt much better. Next morning, I checked out. I checked in. I went to the same room. I met that girl there, and they are continuously checking me into it the whole day, just to see I'm doing. The next morning, I asked the girl, "This is not the part of your job." So no, my part of the job is to take care of my customers first. So the point I'm making is that customer, that's the value you can add. Every employee has to add the value to the customer. So that's my message to that. That's why I do the seminar and invited one of the experts. Before we do that, let me invite my another friend, Ranjan Guha. Ranjan is one of those, he's the head of the US operation of InterraIT. And Ranjan has got extensive experience in sales. So where he is the front end, he gets the beating for the customer every day. So Ranjan, your experience.
Thank you, Ashok. Thank you for the privilege, and Gautam, welcome. I'm honored to be able to listen to your presentation. Over the last, when Ashok told me about inviting you for this presentation, I was really excited. I did a lot of background research, watched your video, and again, I wanted to express my thanks to have the opportunity, Ashok and Gautam, to be part of this webcast. Talking about quality, in InterraIT, I've been with InterraIT for almost 15 years now. It's a way of life, and this is driven by Ashok. The kind of sales cycle that we have, Gautam and everybody else, it's a services company, and the entire cycle of interacting with customers, it's a multi-point contact. You're interacting with multiple customers, and since we are not really a branded company like an IBM or an HCL or maybe Infosys, who are our typical competitors, every interaction has to create value. It's very relationship-based kind of selling. So when the customer's got to start building a trust on you, and he's got to understand that you are credible. And it is challenging, and that's why we are very careful as the sales progresses. Every interaction, every email, every communication that we have with the customer, we look at, we review and see what is it that we can say which creates a differentiator, which creates a perception of being a specialist player who deeply believes in quality. And as the sales cycle goes on, the sales cycle sometimes takes 9 to 12 months, sometimes maybe 1.5 years. We have to ensure that whatever interaction we have, it creates that image in the customer's mind that we are not just a salesperson. And as we move forward in the sale, we bring in our support people, that is our technology people. We normally operate two in the box. And we work together to ensure that also from a technical part of it to a sales part of it, that we are focused on providing the customer not only what he wants, but going beyond his expectations. So it is challenging, but it is really a tremendous amount of fun. It's almost like the role of a psychologist of trying to understand the customer behavior, all the other people around the customer, and what is it that we can provide which stands out vis-a-vis what the others can provide. The others, in fact, we've had situations where we won a deal against maybe say Infosys, where a customer was telling us personally that you folks provided the sincerity, the quality, and the understanding of what we wanted, while the others were telling us how to do our business. And that kind of differentiates us, and that's the reason why we're able to open a lot of marquee accounts. We are very, very careful that when we talk to the customer, or when we are presenting anything to the customer, that we take a step back, review it, and see that, is this the best that we can do? How do we ensure that the customer is going to find a difference when they look at what we have, when they read through what we have? That's one aspect of the quality. The other aspect of quality is, how do we make sales more productive? As this says, the customer angle and the internal angle. The inter angle of quality is, how do we ensure that we have competent salespeople who, through quality processes, are very, very productive. So we look at stuff like conversion ratio. What kind of pipeline do you have? How much does it convert? How long does it take to convert? What is the challenges of it getting converted? Why, if some people are stuck, why are they stuck? Is it qualitatively? Is it quantitatively? What is the problem? At the end of the day, what really matters, I've seen, is the fact that providing quality input to enable them to succeed. It's similar to providing quality inputs for the customer to buy your goods and services. And one of the biggest, I would say, the wins of a verification of our quality is the fact that after the deal, the customer gives us more business. And the fact that InterraIT's relationships with its customers span between 5 to 7 to 10 years with these blue chip companies emphasizes the fact that InterraIT is a strong believer in customer satisfaction driven through quality. That is very, very critical for us. And that is something that Ashok drives into us every time, that customer happiness, customer satisfaction is vitally important. It's just not standing in front of the customer and presenting what we want to present, because it's a competitive world. There are almost 14,000 services companies, and how do you create their difference? It's the difference we believe is created through quality. And please let me know if I'm going over the time. I'm not really sure if anybody's monitoring my time, but please do let me know. So I just wanted to pause here, and if anybody has any questions, or should I just carry on speaking? So I'll just carry on till I'm told that I've run short of time.
You're running out of time.
Okay, I'll stop now. I wasn't sure. I prepared a note, but I wasn't sure about that. But Ashok, thank you. I hope it kind of, and Gautam, I hope it kind of explained what we do and how we get to the customer, and especially as a smaller player, how we make that difference, and how we build that relationship, because it is relationships at the end of the day. You're dealing with human beings, and that is something that we never forget. And Ashok is always telling us that it's not automation. Even in this virtual COVID days, with these Zoom calls and WebEx calls, we try to build that relationship and rapport, so we go beyond just being a vendor to the customer. Thank you. I'm done. Thank you, Ashok, and thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ranjan. Thank you very much. As we talk about the value through quality. So when I was talking about this seminar, I got the best person I can think of, whom I know, GAUTAM MAHAJAN. He's a, I'll give you the background, but basically more important, I met him almost 20 years ago in the American Chamber of Commerce. And then he became when the regional president, I became his vice president, and we worked together as a team. Later he became the national president. I was a part of his executive committee. Then we became there. We worked together. There were lots of fights, as well lots of good. Overall, it's an excellent memory. He's the internationally acclaimed expert in value creation, value strategy, and value management. He is the president of the Customer Value Foundation, editor of the Journal of Creating Values, mentors, and of the Creating Value Mentors. He authors lots of books. All the books are available on the internet. You can find out value dominant logic and everything else. He got a lot of invention. He got honors, including fellowship from the Harvard Business School. He was a distinguished alumni from the Illinois Institute of Technology, and he is a BTech from IIT Chennai. He is an internationally known speaker. He spoke in several conferences across the world. But more importantly, he's a great friend of mine, a great person. So Gautam.
Well, what can I say, Ashok? Thank you very much. And thank you, Ranjan and Pinaki. It's kind of difficult to speak after the two of you have spoken because you've said it all. And what's good about what you've said is that you've encapsulated the meaning of value and what it means to your companies and what it means to relationship and things of that sort in a wonderful way. My talk is a little bit more granular because I'm going to talk about quality. I changed my talk 2 days ago because Pinaki told me that only 20% of the people are quality people. The rest are managers and lawyers and business people and CEOs and things of that sort. So I will use quality as a base to talk about value. And I would hope, and I know, Ranjan, that you meant value when you said that it's quality that drives people to buy from you. It's actually value that makes people buy from you. And quality is one aspect of the value. So welcome all of you, wherever you are. I believe you're from all over the world. I will start with what the creating value movement is around the world so that you know that it is not something that Ranjan talks about or Ashok talks about or I talk about, but it's something that people are really taking seriously all over the world. We have a value school that started in April of last year at the University of Kobe in Japan, and another Creating Value School is going to start at the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, which is like our Indian Institute of Science. And they have only 3 schools. So the Value School there will be the 4th school. Then we have Creating Value Centers in Denmark. We have a Creating Value Center at the University of Maryland. We have Creating Value Forums around the world. Sadly, we don't have one in India, and I hope with InterraIT's help, we might be able to start a Creating Value Forum in India. And we also have the global conferences on creating value. The first one was in the UK, the second one was in New York, the third one in Paris, and the 4th one will be in Florida. And the 5th one, believe it or not, will be in Venice. And I just want you to know that this is not just me speaking or Ranjan speaking, but there's a lot of people around the world who are involved with it. And we have some of the world's greatest people on our board, and I don't want to mention all the names, but if you're in marketing, you've heard of Phil Kotler or Jack Shate or Steve Vago, Christian Gronrose, Yuji Koda. And all of them are on my board, not because of me, but because they all believe that creating value is the goal of all organizations. And that no one really talks and teaches how to create value. And that's why it's important that we talk today about creating value. The role of an executive, and unfortunately this cannot be a very interactive session because I would have asked you folks what you thought the role of an executive is. But most people will say, be a good administrator, be a good efficiency expert and all that. No, the role of an executive is to create value. If you just do your job, you're not creating value. You have to go beyond doing your job to create value. And what differentiates people is their ability to do something different, to differentiate themselves and actually create something for the company or for themselves. And more importantly, you must remember that if you are to create value, you will actually be recognized. So people who become leaders, who are recognized as leaders or who are in positions of trust, they all create value. But no one taught them how to create value. They just do this unconsciously. It's just something that's within them to create value. And therefore, while they're creating value unconsciously, they could be destroying value unconsciously. And therefore, we want all of you in your value creation process to do it consciously so that you will create more value and destroy less value. So let me just start a slideshow. I'm not very particular, I'm not very happy about slideshows, but to a large audience like this, oops, the screen sharing has been disabled. Pinaki? Host disabled participant screen share. Pinaki, I can't hear you.
I'm fixing it, sir. Just give me 1 second.
Just check out now, sir.
It should be done.
Okay.
Because you're the co-host.
Coming.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
while we'll talk about quality, I'll try to keep this more generic so that it's of interest to different people. And there's so much to talk about. I could just talk about what Ranjan said or what Ashok said for hours. And so it's a little difficult to do this very briefly and in less than a few minutes. So here goes. Obviously, I'm delighted to talk to you, but I'm delighted to talk to you because of the quality people. And the quality people bring a special thought process. And their thought process has fascinated me as a customer man. The best quality people are customers. So if you could hire a customer and put him in your quality department, or you could help quality people become customers, you would have the best possible combination of people that could help you. And Ranjan said meeting customer expectations. If you were using 3 words, in 2 words, it's actually creating customer value, or in 1 word, quality is all about customers. Never forget that quality is not about a process. Quality is not about testing. Quality is not about your ISOs and all that. It's all about customers. And the moment you forget that, you've lost the essence of quality. So quality people are people whose mission in life is creating customer value. People whose actions and behaviors are heavily, if not totally, guided by customers' needs, requirements, and expectations. Today, I want them to increase value for customers. Zero Defects does that. So do Zero complaints. And this is something that I would like all of you to be thinking about. How can we get to zero complaints? Therefore, quality people plan, control, and improve processes, which is what Dr. Duran said. They have the ability to integrate effective systems to meet customer requirements. They're experts in change and the mindset. This is a very important thing, because if they can actually impact the company by changing the mindsets of the executives, then they've done a tremendous job. They have to be creative, and they lead from the front. So what I like about quality people is that they have a thought process. They know how to spread the word. They know how to put special processes in place. And the customer movement requires the knowledge that the quality people have and help us go towards zero complaints. And for software companies, they have to manage the quality in handing off parts of the project from one group to another and eventually to the customer. They have to ensure that there are no hidden processes, no hidden promises. They have to route back through customers' expectation and needs so that the customer gets no surprise. We've done this kind of an exercise for large companies such as EMC, where what the salespeople had promised and what they finally delivered kept changing as things passed from one group to another, because the quality process was not in place, because the communication process was not in place. So let me start by asking you, who is most important? Who is the most important person for you? Is it your parents? Is it your society? Is it your family? Is it you? Or is it your boss? So if you've thought through this, really the most important person for you is you. And if you cannot create value for yourself, there's no way you can create value for your company. So you have to start with yourself. And I spend a lot of time teaching people how to create value for themselves. So you have to discover opportunities, you have to create the value, and then you have to deliver the value. And it's not enough that you deliver the value, your customers need to extract that value. So you've got to ask yourself, whom are you creating value for? What is the value that you're delivering, and how? And today I'll talk a little bit about all these things so that you understand what value is. Creating value, the definition, is executing normal, conscious, inspired, and imaginative actions that increase the overall good and well-being and the worth of and for ideas, goods, services, people, or institutions, including society and all stakeholders, which includes employees and customers and partners and shareholders, and value waiting to happen. And I'll talk about value waiting to happen later on. So let me just tell you what I mean by value waiting to happen. You know, the best example I can give you is the driverless car. 20 years ago, did any of you think about the driverless car? I didn't. And I'm sure Ashok didn't, or Ranjan didn't, or Pinaki didn't. And suddenly, when everyone started talking about it, we said, oh yeah, I mean, it was obvious. When we were not able to see it, it was value waiting to happen. And some people saw it and grabbed onto it and made it happen. And it is your job to identify value waiting to happen and really make it happen. And if you can do more of this than your competitors, you will be ahead of the game. Another example of value waiting to happen is, you know, you have these lizards that go up a wall and they have an adhesive, and doctors are now using this adhesive to suture wounds, or they're using technology from porcupine quills to suture cuts. And then the MIT scientists, for example, started to ask why and how can a tree take nutrition from the soil through its roots all the way up 200 feet high to a leaf. And when they started looking at it, they discovered that it was a way of actually designing a micro pump with virtually no energy, which is a hell of a great thing to be able to do. So value waiting to happen, don't underrate it. It's there, it's for you to look at, and I'll talk about how you can do some of these things later on. And then you've got to ask yourself, what is your purpose? You can't just go through life without saying, I don't have purpose. I can't, I'm purposeless. And you must understand this purpose. Purpose can be an important contributor to employee experience, which in turn is linked to higher levels of employee engagement, stronger organizational commitment, and increased feelings of well-being. And that's why a company has to have a purpose. People find their individual purpose congruent with their jobs to tend to get more meaning from their roles, making them more productive and more likely to outperform their peers. Our own research finds a positive correlation between the purposefulness of employees and their company's EBITDA. So your company must have a purpose. The purpose is not just to make money. The purpose is to go beyond that. And what is this purpose? And all of you must think about it. It's not mission, it's not vision. What is your purpose? Why are you in this world? What are you supposed to do? And then you have business excellence models, for example, delivering of every ever improving value to employers or customers, contributing to their marketplace success, enhancing value to all other stakeholders. This is from the Tata Group where we did a lot of work. And the problem was they hired us not because of business excellence, because they didn't understand the word value, and they wanted us to make them understand what value was and to promote the concept of creating value. And the term value, according to them, referred to the perceived worth of a product, service, process, asset, or function relative to the cost and relative to the possible alternatives. Remember, in the definition of value, I said it's doing good, improving the well-being, and improving the worth of a product or a service. Worth is what we are really concerned about in the business world. Worth is what you pay and what you get. And if your customers feel they get more than what they paid to you, then value is created for them. If on the other hand, they feel they paid you more than what you gave them, then value is destroyed and they may never come back to you. Then we have values. Values are different from value. They are your morals, your fairness, your ethics, and honesty. And what we found is that there are companies that that go around values, but they get caught and they get destroyed. Enron was a case in point. But eventually, your values are respected. Values are things that people want to, are reasons why they want to do business with you, why they believe in you, why they trust you. So if you really want to start to understand a employee or a customer, and I've used the word employer weights, but you could be a customer weights. So you've got to create value. You do a waterfall of needs. Suppose your kid wants to go to a college, then the question is which college, what courses, what are the non-academic things that are available at the college, the facilities, etc., the placement, and what future you will have. And if the name of the college is great, everyone will, you will have that with you for the rest of your life. And value breaks up into financials and benefits, and we find out how important the benefits are. In this case, 70%, and the financials are 30%. And the benefits would break up into a lot of different things. So that's how you start to figure out what are the benefits you provide to your customer and what are the financials that you get in return. So value, if you really want to deliver value, you must first have self-esteem. You must first believe in yourself, and you must have awareness, and you must be proactive. You must go beyond what is expected of you. Your confidence must grow. Your mind and awareness must keep increasing. And therefore, I tell people to think about the 6 A's. If you want to be successful, and if you want to be a value creator, you must have ability. You must be aware. You must have a great attitude. You must anticipate problems. You must have agility, and you must be able to do more than one thing at the same time, which is ambidextrousness. Women, for example, are the most ambidextrous people that I know. Now, I want to go back to awareness. If you're not aware, and if you don't see a problem, the problem doesn't exist. On the other hand, if you're aware and you notice a problem and you solve it, the problem is a lot of people notice problems, they don't solve them. So first, you must notice the problem. Second, you must solve the problem. And that's what awareness is all about. And you must get this into your mindset, and you must start to be good at this if you want to create value. Now, value drivers are simply very simple things. Value drivers, if you feel empowered, value is created for you. If you are in a performance-oriented culture, values created for you. If you care about the employer and its success, you're creating value for the employer. If you have technological differentiation, if you have social responsibility, you care about the environment, you're creating value. So what do customers want? What do employers want? Your bosses want you to, and your customers want you to be accessible, be responsive, be knowledgeable, be prompt, keep your promises, keep them informed, follow up, have no surprises, and do things right. And this, if you think of your best friend, he's your best friend because he's available to you and he does the right things for you, doesn't give you unnecessary surprises, and he keeps his promises. So very simple things can destroy value, like not answering the phone or not answering the questions or keeping the employer or the customer wondering. So if you don't come to work for 3 days, your employer starts to worry. Or if you don't answer the phone call from your customer, the customer starts to worry. And that's anxiety, and you want to avoid that. If you can't give a delivery date, not to supply things when you promised, not supplying the right product, you change the payment method on the last minute, you don't keep your promises, you're not willing to go the extra yard, or on a Friday afternoon you say, I can't do anything till Monday. My weekend and holiday is more important to me. Or if you turn around and say, well, I can't do this. This is company policy. All these things destroy value. And value creators are adaptability, sensitivity to others, and things of that sort, knowledge and contact of customers and employers, and asking for feedback and complaints. The best value creators are when you are conscious about your customer's time. You don't want him to spend too much energy chasing you around. You have respect for his psychic needs. In other words, today I talk to him and tomorrow someone else talks to him, and day after someone else talks to him, and he has to start from scratch every time. he doesn't feel good. And if you don't respect him, respect his time, respect his convenience, and make sure that his image is, or he feels that his image is good. And then there is value starvation. Walter Vieira is one of the greatest marketing people in India. I've just written a book called Customer Value Starvation. And these are simple things when, let's say, your telephone number changes and you don't let your customer know, and he keeps calling you on the old telephone number. That's value starvation. Or your office changes and you set up a meeting for him to come and meet you in the office, and you don't tell him that my office has changed or my location has changed. These are all things about value starvation. And all of you, what is common between all of us is that we are customers. And you've all noticed this from people that you do business with, whether it's credit card people or telecom people, or whether it's credit card people. But when it comes to your turn, you do the same things. You have to wear your customer hat when you want to create value for your customer. And lastly, I want you to think about zero complaints. Just like quality people have gotten us to zero defects, we need to get to zero complaints. And the first step is to avoid customer value starvation. I tell companies that most of your quality departments have become very functional, and you need to convert your quality department also to a customer department. You need to bring in quality concepts into customer processes and thinking, and you need to shoot for zero complaints. So companies need to take advantage of the quality team and re-energize them to become customer people. And if you do not know what your value is, how do you sell your value or price it to an employer or a customer? The employer never hires a person. The employer hires a fulfillment of a need. He hires value. The customer never hires a person. The customer hires a fulfillment of a need. He hires value. So what you've learned today is life and business are all about creating value. You've learned that you have to create value for yourself, you have to have a purpose, and you have to have a stakeholder focus. Successful people are value creators. Will you become a value creator today? So I'm now ready to take questions. How do I get off this screen sharing? Okay, Pinaki, do you want me to go through the questions that you had sent me, or how do you want to do this?
So I'll just take up the questions, because we received a lot of questions. So I'll just put them into different headings, and then let us see how it goes. So Gautam, I would like to thank you for such a fantastic, insightful, engaging presentation. And we are fortunate to have received questions through the registrations that happened through different channels, mailers, social media, Facebook, etc. So what I would do to, given the time in hand, I would like to first acknowledge the people who asked the questions. So Manish Das, Pallav Verma, Ramesh Anandikar, Arvind Perumal, Vanshdeep Kevlani, Vikas Dikshit, Madhur Jain, Pranita Narayan, Akshit Jain, Bhaskar Singh. So thank you for sending across your questions. We shall try and accommodate and address as much as we can in the next 20 minutes or so. And some of the questions I'm sure have also been addressed already. Gautam would have addressed those questions fully or partially in his presentation. So Gautam, what we could do is that I could just go through the questions, the ones which you have already covered. So maybe it can be just like a refresher. You could take a little less time to just revisit that thing, and the fresh questions, you can take it afresh and allocate that much time. So here is the first one. So it goes something like this. Unless we are conscious about quality and value as a consumer, can we still be conscious as a provider? So that means, so maybe, you know, jazz is the choice of my music. And now I produce and give them a Bose as the speaker rather than a low-end thing, or an Apple as a computer. So if I'm conscious about quality myself as a consumer, can we, unless I'm like that, so can I still be conscious as a provider?
So there are two aspects to this question. One is, if you are, as a consumer, are not conscious about quality. And I write about this in my book on value starvation. If people see food being cooked on the roadside and with water that is not clean, and they still eat it, it's because they're not aware of the quality of that food and the quality of the hygiene. And if you don't, that's why I said, if you want to be a quality person or a value person, you have to first create value for yourself. You have to create quality for yourself. Many people I visit companies around the world and they say, oh, we create safety. Tell us what you think of our safety. And I would follow the safety manager when he left the plant in his car, and I'd see if he went through a red light, or I'd go to his house and see whether he was plugging in two wires into the plug points without an actual plug. And then you know whether he's really conscious about quality or if he's not conscious about quality. And I said that you have to be conscious about creating value, and if you're not, you will also destroy value unconsciously. Go ahead.
So thank you, Gautam. I would now move on to the next question. So you spoke at in your presentation at different places. I saw you use the word zero tolerance, zero defect. It appeared at various places. So this is my question. So this is about quality as a culture. So you cannot really force, you know, the culture of quality. You know, slow molding works probably better. So given that, if we acknowledge that thing, that it's a cultural issue, in that case, is there anything wrong treating quality just as a compliance matter with SLAs given, rather than a no tolerance approach? So which approach is better to create quality value?
So quality to me is not just compliance. That's just the trappings of quality. Quality is a mindset, and this mindset comes from two or three things. One is the mindset of the quality provider, but the second is the mindset of the bosses. If the CEOs and the CXOs are not quality minded, and I can tell you, I know the top bosses of one of the largest telecom companies in India, and in personal conversation, they say, who cares about the customer, or they talk like that. And you know that when push comes to shove, they're never going to be customer oriented. So the first part is that if you want to have value or quality, you have to have a quality strategy and a customer strategy at the top levels. The second thing which I really like about the quality people is the quality circles. And if the quality circles are at the bottommost part of your company, then you have a top-down movement from the CXOs and a bottom-up movement from your frontline employees. And if you could incorporate value thinking in both of these kinds of people, then you'd change the culture and you'd have true value, true quality.
Thank you, Gautam. So before I move on to the next set of questions, I would like to acknowledge the presence of one of our partners from Europe. So we have got Edgar, who is there. So I would like to ask Edgar if you would like to ask any question. So maybe you could respond to me on the chat and I will take it up subsequently. So welcome, Edgar. The next question, Gautam, is, so we have got a fair amount of students also who are attending this webinar today. So there is a question, what are the other ways to creating value apart from quality? So quality creates value. So there is an academic interest, so which could, we all are students, but I would like you to also address this.
Well, I talked about the 6 A's and the awareness and anticipation and ability and attitude and ambidextrousness and anticipation and things of that sort. Obviously, those are things that you have to start to imbibe. But the second part of what is value, as I was telling Ashok, goes far beyond quality. Quality is only one aspect of value. What I tell students is that you have to start to think of yourselves as value creators. When you go into a job, you have to be able to differentiate yourself. I did the global strategy for the Tuck School of Business, which is arguably in the top 5 or top 10 in the world at Dartmouth. And one of the things I found was that they would get these resumes from IIT students or applications, and they'd start throwing them into the waste paper basket. And I said, I'm also an IIT guy. I said, what the hell are you doing? These guys are brilliant. And they said, read the essays. The essays were all the same. I finished my BTech. I joined an IT company. And I worked there for 2 or 3 years. And at the end of 2 years, or in the beginning of the 3rd year, my boss came to me and said, here's this big project. I want you to manage this project. And I was 23 years old. And there were people who were 50 years old in my group and this and that. And, I managed the project and everyone said, great guy, and see what a great guy I am. And therefore, you should give me admission. Every single one of them said the same thing. Who the hell cares? If you go to your customer and you all say the same thing, I'm a great IT company, I'm a great IT company, everyone's saying that. Nothing. You have to tell them why. What are you going to be able to do for them? You want to get a job, what am I going to be able to do for you? Not that I'm a great guy and I came from an IIT. So you guys have to be able to do that, and therefore you have to understand what the value is that your customer is looking for. And that's why, I didn't want to show those 2 charts of the waterfall of needs and the attribute trees, but this is how you start thinking about your customers. And once you understand what customers really want, then you're able to deliver what they want, and you're able to make them happy.
Thank you, Gautam. I guess the students, including us, would have benefited from that.
No, I must tell you, I'm sorry. I give a course on creating value for yourself at IITs and IIMs. So one kid, on the 2nd day morning, he sent me a message. He said, I sat through your class yesterday, and I've been a backbencher for the last 3 years. Today, you will find me sitting in the front because I realized creating value is all about me. Going to college is all about me. And, that realization, when it comes to people, then they start to change.
Absolutely.
And your executives have to have that realization that I have to create value for myself. I have to create value for the customer. And when that realization comes and they truly start to do those things, then you will see the change in your company.
Thank you, Gautam. Let me now move on to another category, which is strategy. So we received some questions on strategy. So I'm just clubbing a couple of questions. So this one is from our US office, Arvind Perumal. How important is it to draw the distinction between competitive and corporate strategy while creating value? So distinction.
So first of all, I don't know if there's a competitive strategy, because when you create your company strategy, you are actually trying to create a competitive strategy. So there's really no need for a separate exercise. But what we're doing now is, when we do a strategy session for a company, we first start with a customer strategy. And the reason why we do that is, and then we do the corporate strategy, is because the customer strategy and the market strategy are two different things. So I'll take the example of the crash in 2008 that all of us suffered from. I'm sure, Ashok, your company would have suffered also as much as everyone else did. And what was happening was that the customer strategy should have been that we must vet the people that we're giving mortgages to. We must make sure that if prices of homes fell, that they are safe. We must make sure that if interest rates went up, they're able to manage all of these things. But the market strategy said something entirely different, that I can bundle mortgages and sell them to the next bigger player. And so all I cared about was the numbers of mortgages I could put together and give to the next bigger player. And they bundled more mortgages and went to the next bigger player, till someone was stuck with all these bad mortgages and things of that sort. So no one looked at the customer strategy. They only looked at the market strategy. How do we make money? And so I would say that you start with a customer strategy and then follow that up with a market strategy. And when you do a customer strategy, there is a customer role for each CXO. There's a customer role for each department.
So the customer strategy and value creation, they go hand in hand. Okay, so this, let me now come to another area. So this was again, so there is a predicament about the cost of quality. So how to sell quality in IT services in a price competitive market? Or let us say another question is there related. So which is, if you follow the path of quality and perfection, how could we manage to sustain in the market at the beginning of the journey? So maybe some new entrepreneur. So they've got the cost pressures. They do understand quality is important. And
so let's start with existing people first, because that's an easier question. The easier how do you really sell your quality? And it goes to a wider question which people talk about as the value proposition, and I call that price justification. So if you go to your customer and or before you go to your customer and say, this is what I'm going to charge him, and this is what I'm going to tell him why I'm charging him so much, this is what you'll get. And every salesperson must have a template for price justification and or for value proposition. Why am I have this quality, here's the proof of the quality, this is what people are saying about me, We have the people, and this is the kind of people we have. Many of the people have been with us from the beginning, and 30% or 40% of our staff is from the beginning, and another 40, 50% are at least 10 years old, whatever it is. And then you start to talk about our delivery and the kinds of projects that are working and why people are happy. You talk about your timing. If I promise you this in 3 years, you'll get it in 3 years, or in 3 months, you'll get it in, all of this. All of the things that go to build your benefits for the customer that he's actually looking for, that you can provide, and then you can justify your price. In fact, we do a course on setting up a price based on the value that you create. I do this for lawyers. I do this for a lot of companies around the world. But we tell them why you can price yourself at a particular point.
Thank you.
Now, for companies that are starting, they have to say the same things, except they can't use the experience of the company, but they can use the experience of the people that they have, etc., etc.
Thank you, Gautam. I will now take up a question from Edgar. So I just got it on the chat window. So it goes like this. Every person would like to receive good quality, and most persons would like to deliver good quality. But across continents, cultures, companies, the definition or interpretation of good quality or true value is different. This is due to cultural context and surrounding. So how to bridge the different perceptions of value or good quality across different cultures? So different.
I don't see that. I mean, we do value questionnaires to Indian farmers who are completely unread, and we do them to CEOs, Fortune 500 company CEOs, and they're both able to respond, and they're both able to do and ask the right questions. So, I think the problem is that companies are inward looking. We are looking at our processes, we're looking at what we want to do, we're looking at how we do things, and the customer is looking at things differently. And we're not actually keeping track of what the customer is looking for. The project we did with EMC, what we discovered was that the salesperson promised something which wasn't in writing. We'll do this and we'll do this, and just to make the sale. And the company, the customer thought he was getting all of these things. And then the handoff from one department to the other department and the next department, it was the handoff of a department to a department, not a handoff of a customer from this department to this department. The eye was not on the customer. The eye was on the process that we built and how do we transfer it to the next guy, not on what does it mean to the customer and what do we need to worry about. And I think these are things that have to be incorporated in the culture. And if they don't exist, it doesn't matter what your language is. It doesn't matter where you are. It'll always fail. And at the end, you have people that go and sit at the customer's location to get this thing going, and the customer is expecting certain things. This person has been told what to do. He's not been told to follow the customer or really listen to the customer and have a process whereby he can bring the customer's needs back to the company. All of those things are missing. I mean, everyone thinks they're doing it, but they're not really doing it.
Thank you, Gautam. Maybe what I'll do here is I would like to get in Edgar, like if he has got a rejoinder, because he sells across continents in different countries. So Edgar, would you like to come in?
Before Edgar, before you say something, I just give you the example of two friends of mine, both of whom set up IT companies in India to support them in the US. And one of them was extremely successful, and the other one was not successful. And he would always complain to me that the Indian culture is this and the Indian culture is that, and But the real thing was that the managers in the US were not brought into the picture and were not involved with the Indian thing from the beginning. And so they thought they were losing jobs, or they were losing control. And therefore the coordination between the Indian group and the US group was terrible. The other one, there was complete coordination between the US group and the Indian group from the beginning, and they did extremely well. So sorry, I didn't mean to, but I've seen disasters and I've seen things that have worked out very well.
Yes.
Thank you, Gautam. So, Edgar, you would like to come in?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I agree with points Gautam said. Also, what I see is if you want to get to quality and value, basically you should have understanding. So that's basically more that I was hinting at. If you cannot understand what other person wants, you can never deliver what they need. And I've also been working with InterraIT, I think already since about 10 years nearly, I guess, on and off.
Yeah.
And what I always did also on our side, at the customer side, I said, listen, this is not about Indian companies, this is not about working across the world, it's about understanding each other. And I always bring that example close to home. Our company is based in the Netherlands, and we live between Germany, the UK and France. They're all very different cultures, in fact, very close by. And I always start with the example, say, okay, you think you might understand what you're saying, or you might expect somebody else to understand what you're saying. If you take something that is seems like a very defined word already in a sector, building sector, software sector, you have something like a concept. Now we say, okay, ask a Frenchman, an Englishman, and a German person to deliver a concept. And you get 4 different things. And they're all going to say that's not a concept. They say, okay, if you know that close already, how would you expect somebody, whatever you say, it's the same meaning, the same wording, semantics on the other side of the world somewhere. I said, this person is really trying to give you a concept from his perception. So our point is, and that's one of the examples I remember already from the early days at InterraIT. There was a project manager and said, we work for British companies, for English companies, for American companies. And they all speak English like we do in India. So what could go wrong? And we deliver one thing to the States and they say, oh, that's good. And we deliver the same to the UK and they say that's bad quality. And why? Because we are doing the same thing. And what I learned there is that also, apart from understanding what the other person needs, because then you can deliver, is also quality is a very cultural context issue. What is good quality to me is not the same quality as an Italian, or the expectations for instance, an American company, they would say, okay, I pay little, so I can have 30% defects. If you go to the Netherlands, they say, sorry, we made the price and I just want to have 100% quality. So there is a subjective cultural context on what is good quality and the understanding. And that's more the things, we made it our challenge to solve that across worlds. Like whatever we can do now is the complaints you have a lot is if you would go to a different company, in this case, let's take India, because we're talking to a lot of people from India, they said, because you don't understand, you take 5 times as long delivery times. Well, what we figured out, and also collaborating with InterraIT, is if you get the understanding right, deliver the same timelines. So actually, we believe it is possible to deliver good quality, local quality, and work internationally. So basically, my two extras are quality. Then you need to have understanding, and I think you need to the best is to have people who cross the bridge 2 ways. You need to have a feeling about both qualities in order to deliver well, and to be sure that what one person says is good quality, even if you deliver the same, it might just be different for somebody else.
I agree with you. In fact, if you go back 20, 30, 40 years ago, what you said was even much worse. I spent a lot of time for a US company. I was working in the US, in Europe, because we had the largest companies in Europe belonging to us. And we had this problem. And when I left the company, they set up a joint technology group between the Europeans and the Americans. And they asked me as an outsider to chair it because the Americans didn't know how to talk to the Europeans and vice versa.
Yeah, it's already even in the US
True.
and Europe. It's yeah, well, I'll stop after this, but one of the big ways, and I might be able to talk about that some other day, perhaps myself, is what helps is to visualize. So we say less words, more visualization, because that makes stuff tangible. So more focus on visual design, visual engineering in the software area, instead of specification writing. Because the more words you write, the more you can misinterpret. And something visual is usually like algebra, it's international. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Edgar and Gautam, for that interesting conversation on the cross-cultural, how people perceive quality, the level of quality. So we are just about, this section was to end at 8:45. We are just 2 minutes above time. I'm just taking the liberty and doing the last set of questions. So maybe just a minute or two. So which is on metrics. So is there any metric for quality through which one can measure what product one delivers? So this is one. And the second is what factors to consider while building a product. So building a product and then delivering the product, what are the metrics for quality? How to measure, basically?
So I guess you guys are experts at measuring quality, but the thing is, many years ago, I was asked to run a software company as a consultant. And we had people in Belgium, and we had people in Germany, and we had people all over the world. And one of the things that I found was that if one of these guys found out that there was a problem and they fixed the problem, there wasn't a systemic change that was made. It wasn't something that went across the board. It was just a local change that was made, and there was no real good process of transferring this information from one place to the other. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, and it all comes back to the 6 A's. You first have to be aware of the problem, and then you have to do things about it. So I really can't give you a canned tip for this, but I think there are ways of doing it. And all of you are experts. If you put your mind to it, you'll be able to do it.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Gautam, for this session, the Q&A session. And I would now invite on stage Ashok to do a quick vote of thanks to Gautam, after which I'll wind up the program. Ashok.
Gautam, before I go, thanks very much for a wonderful speech. Let me talk with what Edgar said. You know, I did the business with the Japanese for a long time, for some time, you know, the big Japanese company. And I found that their standard is extremely high. They look for a 95%, 5% or 1% defect. So the software which we are developing ourselves, the people who are developing software ourselves here, when they go to Japan, you know, they have to have a different standards. They consciously change the standard because they know that Japan will reject you. You know, and then obviously we became a completely different. Our style becomes completely different. Our quality QA is different to meet the Japanese standard. You know, and that basically I think probably what Edgar is talking about. I think, you know, so any comments on that? You know.
So I don't think you need to go to Japan to do that. I mean, in India, you have people who are at the bottom of the quality thing, and all they want is price and get some crap into their system. And then there you have the other extreme. And you guys have seen all of this in India, where you can get away with bloody murder with some companies that don't care about quality. And then you have the other extreme that all they care about is quality.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying that Japanese will not pay extra money for that. But if you want to do a business in Japan.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, you know, I think we do a lot of business in Japan, and I find it more and more easy to do business with them than 30 years ago. And they're changing, they're understanding, they're becoming more, and a lot of stuff that the Japanese say, of course now it's changed, but 30 years ago you didn't know what they were saying, because what they were saying and what they were meaning were two different things. That's also changed. So doing something for them was extremely difficult 30 years ago.
Yeah, thank you. And Gautam, thanks very much for wonderful thing what you have said that, you know, I like to, on behalf of everybody, I like to thank you. And it's a tremendous, I think probably I invited you, probably you are going to, whether you can remember or not, I think probably almost like a 5 or 10 years ago, probably, we invited to our building, you gave a speech on the quality at the time frame in person, not in video. So anyhow, thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pinaki. Thank you, Ashok. And thank you, all of you, for your patience. And now you can go and have your dinner.
So thank you, Ashok. I also echo your thoughts and feelings towards Gautam. So thank you for getting Gautam to do this program and to conceptualize this event. Thank you also for adroitly moderating the program and making it a success. Thank you, Ranjan, for your thoughts. Thanks, people, guests, colleagues, role players. Edgar, you were fantastic. Thanks, managers, for encouraging team members to participate. Thumbs up. I like to acknowledge efforts of people who did some of the back-end activities, the creative team with Jagannath and Joya for all the promo and branding. Thanks, Pranita, Mamta from HR, Narendra for different back-end roles today. Thanks to the ISS team. You are always an unsung hero, but the broadcasts, etc., these happen because of you. We take it for granted. So I appreciate those who couldn't make it for important customer calls that happened during the prime time. So there were a lot of people who were engaged with their customers, providing value to them. And to the other unsung heroes too, cheers. So we'll be sharing the recording after we download the thing and create the link for the recording. Now I would request you to log out. So good night to those who are from the subcontinent, and good day to all others. Stay safe. I'd be around for some time till the recording finishes, so you could log out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank Gautam. Thank
Bye.
Gautam. Thank Edgar.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.